Greetings and actually, I don't even know what that is. Okay, so I can't remember where I saw this. Maybe I was reading a book, listening to something, or something crazy. But we can remember songs like crazy, right? Songs that maybe we didn't even hear that much.
Yeah, that is so crazy. Yeah.
But we cannot remember the Gettysburg Address that we had to memorize so long ago, or anything like that. But music is something, and a lot of like random stats and things like that. Like it's just stored somewhere, and like,
well, it's like, yeah. So I do now. So what is today? Today is we're recording this on April 14th. I'm flying to Boston on Saturday to run the Boston Marathon. So what I'm doing is that I'm coming up with my running playlists.
Yeah.
And so one of the hacks that I have is you get tired of songs. So rather than just delete those songs off a playlist, and then a year from now or 2 years from now, you're like, man, what were the songs that I used to listen to back in the day? So before I delete any songs, or as I add songs to a playlist, I have what's called a master running playlist. And so that's a list of every single song that I have ever ran to for as long as I've been using iTunes. And so as I'm compiling my Boston playlist, I started listening to that playlist to figure out, what songs can I recycle from back in the day. And there's some songs on there that I haven't listened to in years. I mean, like years. And I'm like, dude, just like you said, man, I will just spout out like every single lyric. And it's like stuff that I haven't thought about in forever.
It's very odd. I remember in December, we got lunch after a meeting, and I'm not sure what the playlist was, but I remember texting you afterwards being like, that was a really good playlist, whatever that was. And I remember there were some songs from this band, Something Corporate, which I haven't listened to in probably 10 years. Same. And then like this exact scenario happened. Like someone I mentioned, this other band, like The Used, which I hadn't listened to in like 10 years. And it snaps back and you can sing the tunes. It's so wild. Great. Is it just somewhere in like your brain? You're just like, I need more data on this.
I know it's really interesting, but I mean, there's some memory centers for those people that are aging or whatever, that have dementia or Alzheimer's, that they set up those places where you can go back into the whatever decade that you grew up in, and they're playing music from that. And even folks that are residents of places like that, they will just remember that long-term memory as something that's really special.
I bring this up obviously because it's unique, but even recalling a business that you might see, maybe you see a billboard driving down, maybe you hear an ad, maybe you just hear someone talking about it. It's hard to remember those things, and it's interesting how we remember some things and not other things, and it's a wild scenario. I do not remember when I first met of this next individual who will be joining us on the Fervent Four. But Marko, do you remember when you met myself or Tim for the first time?
Ooh. No, I don't.
But you can remember that song that you haven't heard in 10 years. Mm-hmm. Ain't that something?
Yep.
I don't remember either. I feel like
it was at an event, I guess it was at a couple events at the IncuHub that I had met Marko.
Was it at the IncuHub where we met? Because I know I worked with you. I've seen you guys, after we had met, pretty much everywhere I went, because we circled the same. We have the same circles when it comes to entrepreneurship, and that's what the IncuHub is about, and that's what you guys are about. So I remember once I met you once, I saw you everywhere.
And that's the way it's supposed to go. I think maybe I saw a press release or something. I don't even know. It's or someone at Portsmouth Economic Development maybe mentioned. I don't know. But it is interesting just from a memory perspective how difficult it is, even though we know you, right, to recall back to those first scenarios. And it's something that I don't think enough businesses kind of put into just their plan of action on how are you going to get these people to remember you even after they see you.
Right. Yeah. Here, I'm playing with my camera, but anyway. So I just recalled how I met you, Zack. when I came up with the concept of the IncuHub.
Oh yes, I remember too. Brad Hunter.
Right.
Right.
And of course, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm creating something that no one has ever thought about before, and it was obviously an amalgamation of many other people's ideas that was sort of all under one roof. But one of the folks that Brad was like, oh, someone who did something very similar at one point in time. Do you know Zack Miller? And I was like, no, I don't. It's like, I'll put you in touch. So I remember talking to you, and in fact, one of the products that is most successful at the IncuHub, the mailbox, you pushed me to do it because I wasn't going to provide any mail services or addresses. I just wanted people that were going to be there, that I wanted to talk to, that were like-minded. And that's what I personally was interested in. But when you had mentioned, hey, look, man, I think a lot of folks need just a place to start a business. They may not have the funds or the time to come and hang out with you every day, but they'll need a place, and they need it so cheaply. And from your perspective, from the business perspective, why wouldn't you provide that? You can have potentially an unlimited amount of mailboxes that people can have, and that could be another way of drawing them into the community. Give them a start.
Well, right, get them in to start. Right, it's that 7-day free trial, if you will. Get them in.
Right. And
your office is here, and then it becomes that next step. Tim, I don't know. You did mail, right? I did not do mail, and I think I should have done mail. Did you do Tim?
Yep, we sure did.
Yeah.
And it was Tim, great. Tell me about your mail. I don't know anything about that.
So we had mailbox members that if somebody just wanted to use our address as rather than their home address for their business, then they would just have their mail delivered at our place. And then when the mail arrived, I would just send them a text or an email saying, hey, you got mail. Send them a picture of the envelope so they would determine how much of a priority it was for them to come in and grab the mail, or they would just tell me to pitch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those models. You run a co-working space, we'll get into all that, but it's just one of those, it's one of those models that I think people don't always think about. And it's kind of like the glue, right? It's like you need that extra funding that you can have, that extra revenue that you can have in that business could be the thing that keeps you afloat. And
well, it's interesting as we're talking about this, I'm like, wow, all three of us ran a space at one point. We had the Hampton Roads area triangulated, if you will.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
How long has IncuHub been open, Marko?
In June it will be 3 years. So we're shy of 3 years, but it's been a wild 3 years. I mean, as you guys know, when this is backstory, I'm not sure if you remember, I own PMA IT Solutions, and PMA IT Solutions I started in 2015, and it's my personal bread and butter as a company. We're still small by design, but the reality is when I was looking for PMA IT to expand, I looked at a number of different places, and I couldn't find one that I liked. For many different reasons. Some were, hard to get to. Some were didn't have parking. Some didn't have the vibe that I was looking for. I needed something a little bit more formal than some of the places had, but I also liked, it not to be too formal. So when I toured the other spaces, I couldn't find what I was really looking for. So when I gave up on finding a co-working space, I asked my real estate agent to look for a spot for me to purchase just so I can locate my IT company. And my parameters were, hey, I would like to be within a walking distance of the beer garden in Portsmouth. And I would like to be also in a hub zone, a historically underutilized business zone, which is a federal government designation for businesses that open in areas that are traditionally not economically strong, that the federal government wants to empower. So my real estate agent at the time, laughed at me because generally those areas are not within walking distance of popular spots. And then a week later, he called me back and said, hey, look, I found something and you will not believe it's what you're looking for. It's bigger. but it's inside your price range, and I think it would be awesome for you. So we went and looked at it, and lo and behold, it was 4,000 square feet, and I just think office. I'm like, man, this is way bigger. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, what if, to offset that cost, I invited like-minded folks to come co-work with me? And from there, it ballooned. Someone was like, well, you should talk to Zach. You should talk to, I don't know, Bob. You should talk to Michelle. You should talk to. So I was, I was new to the area relatively, and I just wanted to meet people anyway. So I just started meeting with people, and with every person that I met, the idea kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And we went from, a space for my IT company to live in, to a co-working space for business owners specifically. And the IncuHub was born. And the IncuHub, the IncuHub, INCUHUB, an incubator in a hub zone. That's really the background behind the name.
I never put those two together, by the way.
You didn't?
I didn't either.
Yeah, and I don't know that I knew what hub zone stood for until you said it. I didn't realize what the acronym actually was, so that was interesting too.
Yeah,
I'm 2 for 2 on learning today. Thank you.
So the IncuHub came in existence at modest expectations, right? I'm thinking 5-10 people will join, and we'll be a good crew of like-minded folks that can share ideas. And probably from your own experience, I mean, you guys are very entrepreneurial, and your friends who are not, and when you talk to them about legal things, HR things, banking things, I don't know, all the little things that small business owners have to think about, they usually look at you sort of googly-eyed, and they can't figure out,
Right.
They don't really care, They're like, okay, yeah, let me tell you about my boss at work and why, this sucks or this is great or whatever, right? And so the ability to relate to folks was limited in my case, because I didn't know that many folks that were doing similar things to what I was doing. So being amongst like-minded folks is really important to me. So yeah, modest expectations, 5-10 people. Well, 2.5 years or almost 3 years later, the IncuHub is home to over 100 businesses.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
100 businesses that decided to locate to Portsmouth, a place where everyone kept telling me, oh, I don't know, you may not want to go to Portsmouth. This is a good idea, but it will probably not succeed in Portsmouth. But I had a different vision. One, I wanted to be walking distance to the beer garden that I love. So selfishly, that's where I wanted to be. There was a hub zone there, so it was good for PMA IT, right? But what I discovered is Portsmouth is dead center of our region. But when you're in the peninsula or Williamsburg, you capture that traffic, but the South Side folks are not as interested. If you are, and equally, if you're on the South Side, people don't really go much to the peninsula because there's services up there. I found that the Portsmouth location, and specifically the IncuHub's location, which is right next to the tunnel going into Norfolk, is ideal. It's ideal for folks in Chesapeake. That's a 15-minute drive away. It's ideal for folks in Norfolk because that's 5 minutes away, but the prices in Portsmouth are going to be significantly less. It's ideal to folks that live in the Virginia Beach Town Center, North Suffolk, downtown Suffolk, Smithfield, because it's within a striking distance from each one of those. For me, location-wise, it was good because I could invite my customers and it wouldn't be hard for them to attend. And equally, if I needed to go to meetings and visit people, this is pre-COVID when we were actually used to do that, it was easy for me to do. So anyway, 3 years later, 100 businesses, and I'm not sure if you guys know, but we've just tripled in size, building.
You opened a new building, right?
You took the spot next door, correct?
Yeah, the 2 units next door became available, and I at first I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. My agent called me again. It's like, hey, Marko, you should do this. Of course, he wants me to buy more, right? And I was like, no. The IncuHub is good as is. We're fine. We're happy. We've got a good crew. Everything's going great. But then we also had a wait list for offices. We had 13 folks in our office wait list. We had no more desks available. And I kept thinking, and then one of my buddies approached me and said, hey, look, I'll fund it for you if you do it. So you didn't even have to go through a bank. And I was like, all right, well, now I just can't.
Cut through and they're all, or are they 3 separate bays?
We have 3 entrance doors, but the 3 spaces are connected. So
where do they
depending,
connect?
um,
Downstairs?
downstairs and upstairs, we've created.
Wow.
We actually now have just holes in the walls. We still haven't received their doors. They'll be here in November, and that's not a joke.
What? How? So
Stuck at your home office, socially distanced coffee shop, or your fancy all bricked out corner office, wondering why no one can see your business and sales are all over the place? Sounds like you need a pro. That's why I developed the Anomaly Academy. Insert clever copy here. Oh, I guess I was supposed to put something else there. Oops. You can grab access to the Anomaly Academy now at zackmillersays.com/Anomaly Academy.